Welcome back to E3 2018. I'm Jane, this is Andy.
Hi, I'm Andy.
And I've just come from a presentation of Dying Light 2. Andy, you remember Dying Light 1?
Man, I love Dying Light 1.
We had a good time with that.
Yeah.
Do you remember that game?
Yeah, I think we have a clip of us having a good time. Oh my god, you guys.
Let me see your machete. Ah! Come kill this thing with it.
Machete. Jesus!
Wow. That thing is massive.
Do some more.
That is
Do some more.
absolutely huge.
Oh, his head came off.
Man, that was a good time, wasn't it?
So Dying Light 2 is on the way.
Yeah.
It's actually quite different.
Get him! You're dead now.
So I think
Oh, really?
you've seen maybe the trailer, Andy?
Yeah, I have seen the trailer, yeah.
Would you like to know in what ways it's different to Dying Light 1?
Man, I would love to. Tell me.
The city is a corpse, and we are the worms.
First of all, and most importantly, it's set in a completely different location.
Okay, so it's not Haran
It's
anymore.
no longer Haran, which was
Okay.
sort of a fictional, I want to say it was sort of like a Turkish-like city.
Yeah.
So it was very hot and dry and that kind of deal.
Oh man, look, it's one of my favourites.
Hazmat zombie. Oh no, I'll leave that one for Mike.
He does enjoy it, so.
He does.
Blammo.
I want to take that away from him. This is a European city, again, a fictional city.
Okay.
And more importantly, it's set in what they call a modern dark age.
Oh.
So everything's gone real bad.
So, okay,
It's
so
basically a brutal medieval type scenario where
Wow.
there are corpses hanging in the streets. People are executed for stealing food.
Oh god.
Everything's dark and bad and bad and dark and
I
bad.
saw that in the trailer. It was like you'll have your hands cut off and all that sort of thing.
absolutely.
I shall therefore speak a word unto here. Anyone who dares to steal food will be hanged, and their bodies will be exposed.
Yeah.
So that's the new setting in which we find ourselves in Dying Light 2.
Okay, so the architecture's different.
The architecture is different, it's European, but also it's completely trashed. There are, in a nice bit of storytelling, tanks abandoned in the streets. It's what remains of the fight against the infected.
Yeah.
So obviously the zombies, that are still a thing, they're still a thing, Andy.
Those guys.
But also warring human factions, because it turns out prolonged war against the infected turns to human conflict as well.
Man
Yes.
is the real monster.
Man was the real monster,
Also,
like
the
you
zombies
guys.
were also monsters.
The map, meanwhile, to get numerical on
Yes,
you,
tell me.
is 4 times the size of the map in Dying Light 1. All the
Okay.
maps combined, because you remember there were different areas
Yeah,
that
and
you
went
kind of went to
transition between the
progress
sewers
to.
and things.
This map is 4 times bigger than all of those Dying Light 1 maps combined. So
Nice.
we're talking a huge area. And the nice thing about it is, in that classic, you can go where you can see
Oh yeah.
scenario.
Yeah.
When you climb up to the top of a tower and you look out over this enormous, sort of beautiful but trashed city, you know that that's a huge expansive area you can actually travel
Great.
to, you can traverse to with your parkour.
You can go to everywhere you can see, but everywhere you can see is horrible and full of zombies.
Somewhat full of zombies. The little twist on those zombies, or infected as they're called in Dying Light, Andy.
Right. Okay.
There's still a day-night cycle. You remember that was very important in
Oh
Dying
god,
Light.
and at night they were
How
the
at
horrible.
night there were the horrible fast zombies.
Yeah.
In the day there were just the classic slow, shuffly zombies, somewhat slow.
Yeah, I mean they would still run at you, but you know,
well,
you
yeah.
could deal with them.
They've tweaked it for Dying Light 2. The day-night cycle is more important. It's a little more complicated. It's not as simple as it was in the first game.
Man.
In the daytime, there are actually relatively few zombies out and about.
Oh, okay.
The way
Interesting.
the developer described it is the day is for humans and the night is for zombies.
Oh, cool.
And in an incredibly terrifying portion of the demo, you're out and about, there's like a single zombie shuffling around, you clobber it or what
Yeah.
have you.
Pop it on the head.
And then you go into this dark building off to one side.
Seems like a bad idea.
And of course it only turns out to be a bloody like mannequin factory. It's not a mannequin factory, it's like a former department store or something, but it's full of the most terrifying mannequins, like all naked mannequins are terrifying.
Okay.
And behind those mannequins are a bunch of dormant zombies, just posing there like Silent Hill nurses or something.
Zombies posing there like they understand horror tropes.
Like they know
Yeah.
what mannequins look like and they're trying
Sure.
to imitate them. No, the idea is, in the day-night cycle in Dying Light 2, that zombies are mostly dormant.
Oh, they slow
During
down.
the day, they slow down
Okay.
if they're out and about in the sunlight where they're not very powerful. But otherwise, they go and like sleep in like dark
Oh,
places. So
interesting,
they're sort
okay.
of, they're sort of posed in these twisted postures, or they're like
That's
curled
cool.
up on the floor, and you can sneak by them, but only if you're very, very quiet. And if you make a racket, then suddenly they'll all spring to life and start chasing you. Cool.
I like the idea that it gives you the option to explore things without so many zombies around, because those are cool cities to explore, like the one in the first game. But if you want to get anything
If
done,
you had a bunch of zombies on your tail.
you have to kill like 100 zombies before
Yeah.
you can get onto the building you want to
Yeah,
get to. So
yeah.
that's
Well,
nice.
also it gives more breathing room for the human factions, because the human enemies are really much more important this time around.
Right.
And so you've got them to worry about during the day rather than hordes of zombies.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not safe during the day. It's just less zombies.
Absolutely, yes. And speaking of those human factions,
Every day we rise from dust to choose between bad and worse.
the other new element I'd like to talk about, the key pillar, if you will,
Oh, I love.
is what I would say if
will.
I was a game developer
I will.
myself. They call it the narrative sandbox.
Okay.
What they mean to say, like the storytelling layer
Okay.
is much richer, and for the first time in Dying Light, it's branching in
Oh,
this.
interesting.
in
Okay.
the- I was going to say in a much more like meaningful, impactful way, where your choices have consequences. Of course, that is what I've been told, and we've only seen it exemplified in a very.
Yeah, and the one they showed
selective
off in the
demo.
trailer in the Xbox conference.
But
yeah.
if it's on the money, what's happening is you choose which faction you side with, who
Yeah.
you work for, who you betray, who you ally yourself with, and the faction that you're supporting grows in strength and influence, and that strength and influence impacts the city around you. So if you help this faction called the Peacekeepers, for instance,
They sound nice.
so they sound nice.
Peace.
Don't they sound
That's good.
nice?
Yeah, keeping the peace.
Yeah, they sound nice, but they are extremely harsh, very brutal, and they enforce the law with justice without trials, execution without second chances.
I can't believe I fell so hard for the peacekeepers.
They had such
Me
a
and the
nice
peacekeepers
name.
are through.
Yeah, but also visually they changed the cities. If you were to climb up, you would see their like blue war banners
Oh,
everywhere.
cool, okay.
They've really leaned hard into the idea of it being a role-playing game in which you're playing the character as you
Yeah.
like, and that affects the city around you.
So kind of like in Fallout 4, where you have the Institute and you have the railroad, and you have to decide like who you want to support, and
Absolutely.
you can't like have a foot in both camps. You really
Yeah.
need to commit to one.
So the example they gave us to go on describing it is you have influence over which faction ends up in control of this water tower.
Yeah.
You can either sidle up to the kind of shady faction that want to sell the water,
Okay. I mean, that sounds bad.
and you get money from every time they sell water.
Okay.
You can like be skimming a little bit off the water profits.
Yeah.
Or you can help turn it over to the peacekeepers, who are on the face of it kind of good guys and will let everyone have water for free, but are also brutal,
They're gonna string everyone else up.
authoritarian types.
Yeah.
So it's
sounds
tricky.
tricky.
The writer, or the narrative lead, I think, is the title. Basically, they've got Chris Avallone
Oh,
working
yeah, Chris
on
Avallone.
it,
Nice.
who is a man of some repute in the area.
Hi, I'm Chris Avallone, and I'm excited to be working with Techland to create the world of Dying Light 2.
And that's in contrast to Dying Light, which had a story,
Oh,
shall
yeah.
we say, but it wasn't hyper memorable. That's not why we were playing Dying Light, shall we put it that way.
No, you were a man
You were a parkour man,
who zombies.
and there were
happened,
zombies.
And then you parkoured over the zombies and won.
Lost everything he cared for. No surprise he lost the will to live.
Don't look too concerned, you and your boys.
What would you have us do? Sit and wail?
They've also got writers from the team on The Witcher 3.
Nice.
Fellow Polish developers there. So the guys from CD Projekt Red who worked on The Witcher 3 helped writing some of the really important, like memorable Witcher quests, like the Bloody Baron, for instance.
Yeah, the famous Bloody Baron.
If I'm to choose between a greater and lesser evil, I'd rather not choose at all. Usually, though, the stakes are just too damn high.
They've only gone over to Techland and they're helping them write up some of the stuff in
Nice.
Dying Light 2. So already the little scraps of dialogue we've heard are more natural, more convincing. I'm hoping it leads to just a more refined
Yeah.
kind of writing, which I find so important. Like that clunky writing, I can still enjoy a game, but it means I will never fully get into the fiction of a game.
Yeah. Well, it
So
sounds
this
like
time
it's
around,
in
fingers crossed,
it's in
yeah.
good hands.
Did I mention key pillars?
Yes.
Firstly,
Okay.
I apologise for mentioning key
Sure,
pillars.
the key pillars.
But secondly,
Mhm.
it's still all about parkour.
about parkouring up the pillars.
Parkouring up
Yeah.
those pillars,
Okay.
down them, around them.
Sure.
It's, again, a refined like traversal experience, refined parkour. They've got physics-based objects for the first time.
Oh, okay.
So, as in you could leap out onto a crate suspended from a
that's
crane and it would
swinging
swing
and-
around.
Because I did think that the parkour in Dying Light 1 was actually really good.
It was
So-
really good, but obviously it was in static environments. Whereas now you've got the physics-based element, so you can like swing around on ropes.
Nice.
There was a really cool little bit of traversal in the demo where you swing on a rope, you're Tarzan across a street into a billboard, and then you slide down the canvas
Ooh,
of the
cool.
billboard.
Okay, I like that.
looked really cool. There are parkour puzzles.
Oh, okay. How does that work?
They reminded me a little bit of the towers in, say, Far Cry 4.
Right, yeah.
A little bit more to them than that, I would say, because obviously in that you're just climbing them, whereas in
But you have to figure out how
in
to
Dying
climb
Light 2,
them.
you have to, in the case of this tower, for instance, you're on the inside of a tower, you look up, you examine the walkways and the ropes and the ladders, and you have to figure out how in so many moves you're going to get to the top of this tower,
Right.
because you only have a limited amount of stamina. So in one instance, it's your stamina that will determine like how many moves you can get up to the top.
Right.
And in other cases, it will be just a very complicated maneuver where you just have to chain together a bunch of parkour moves to get you to the top of where you want to go.
Oh, man.
So that reminded me a little of Mirror's Edge. Do you remember there were certain interior bits in Mirror's Edge
Yeah.
where you're like, okay, I'm going to have to do wall run, flip, climb,
Yeah.
turn around,
Back eject.
jump, back
Yeah.
eject, all in one, do it flawlessly. Otherwise you would fall and die.
Nice.
That's exactly what it reminded me of. I'd like to talk briefly, as per usual, about melee combat.
As per
I'm
usual.
always talking about melee
the
combat.
regular daily conversation about melee combat.
Andy, sit down.
Let's get
I'd
into
like
it.
to discuss how, if we were to fight
Yeah.
with melee combat, how that would go.
Just exactly where I'd hit you on your collarbone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm always.
It's there if you're wondering.
Melee combat still very much present and gruesome
Yeah.
in Dying Light 2. It feels like the signature weapon, like the poster weapon, for now at least, is like this road sign axe that's like the pole of a road sign with a sharpened road sign at the top.
It's just a big road sign.
But
hitting it
who
with a
knew
road
you
sign.
could sharpen a road sign to the point where you can take a person's head clean off?
Well, apparently the guys who are making Dying Light 2.
Yeah.
So hats off to them.
So look forward to heads
Yeah.
off to them.
Heads, yeah, with a pole.
It's gruesome with higher fidelity than ever, as you would expect of a sequel. The interesting thing about melee, I think, because humans are more important, you'll be doing much more melee against human enemies.
Yeah.
And it's got a relatively sophisticated melee combat dueling sort of
Ooh,
system,
okay.
where when you're fighting against an enemy, you have to read their posture and their stance, and they'll change through different stances.
Oh, interesting. Like
in
For
order-
Honor or something.
A little bit, yeah. So you're going to
Okay.
have to block and defend and dodge.
That's cool.
It's not just get in there and
Wail
wail
on
away
them
with your
until-
road
yeah.
sign axe until they're dead.
Yeah.
So look forward to that. But speaking of gruesome graphics,
Right.
violent
Yeah.
visuals,
Sure.
a little alliteration for
good
you there,
alliteration,
Andy.
yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you. The actual look of the game is, dare I say it, much more polished. The detail is what I want to say. I
Yeah.
think is
It looks nicer.
It looks nicer. It does look nicer. Haran, I think, got a little bit. Not that he looked bad,
No,
but
it's just a bit
there was a
samey.
sameness
Yeah.
to it. I think after a while.
I think that's fair.
Whereas I feel like having seen the city from on high, it looks like there's more variety. There's certainly more detail.
Okay.
And I think that even that detail will help carry it. For instance, that spooky mannequin shop I told you about, where they sell all the mannequins,
Right.
I
Oh.
guess, was really beautifully done. The zombies look like proper horror zombies now, not just gross monsters, but
Yeah.
individually examined, they are like very spooky classic zombies,
Cool.
which I'm all about.
And
Yeah.
it was a scary game then. It was scary.
It looked scary.
Yeah.
It felt scary, and that was during the day. They didn't even show us a demo at
Man.
night, so who knows what's going to happen then.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Cool.
I really enjoyed Dying Light,
Yeah,
but
we
I didn't go
liked
away
the
from
first
it
one.
saying, man, I cannot wait for that sequel, because we played quite a lot of Dying Light.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't want to play a sequel, but it had not occurred to me until just this afternoon, seeing that demo, that, yeah, I'm ready for a bit more Dying Light,
Yeah.
actually.
And I mean, Techland, they've been getting better with each one of their zombie games. So Dead Island, was good.
Yep.
Well, we thought it was good, but then Dying
Dead
Light...
Island was fun, Knockabout,
yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Dying Light was, like, we had a really good time with it. So I think, like, this one, if it's going on the same trajectory, it's going to be even better.
It's been quite the evolution there for Dying Light, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
so
me too.
I would cautiously advise that you do too, and thank you for watching. This has been Outside Xbox, and we've been here at E3 2018.